So how do I begin using the Obsidian app for note taking? In today's video, that's exactly what we're gonna do. And I'm gonna give you 7 tips that you could take away to start implementing the use of this really wicked open source software. But first, I want to talk about why this is such a precious and important app in my life. And it's not just for the sake of note-taking or gaining more knowledge, but really, for me as a practicing psychologist, learning deeply and to be able to do this in a sustainable and translatable way that would impact my clinical work is vital. So I really prize learning, deep learning over time. And I want to make sure that that goes on in a way that feeds me so that I can translate that. And also, I need to figure out tools that will not inundate me because there's so many different electronic things that I need to handle now, but tools that would not only augment but also extend my mind to help me, again, to learn. So why Obsidian? So there are 5 key benefits of how come I'm using this particular app. First, I have to say it's an open source software, which means it's free to use. I'm really amazed at this fact because so many things these days are not only pay for your use, but a lot of the softwares these days are subscription based, which means you pay by per month. And it sort of annoys me. It's hard to keep track of what kind of things I have subscribed, am I still using them or not. Secondly, I'm using Obsidian also because they have this feature called bi-directional linking. As I've talked about in a previous video, the hidden discipline to extend your mind. And that way of linking not only one note to another, A to B, but then I can link B back to A as well. It's bi-directional, not just one way. And that helps with this other thing within Obsidian. It's that it creates really awesome looking graphs to give you a neural network of all your different notes that you take over time. More on this as we go, because there will be a short series that I'm doing on the videos to show you how to use Obsidian quickly. And then third, a lot of things that we take note these days, the notes are stored in a cloud. And in some ways, I feel sort of hostage by the apps that it's all residing in there. And what happens if that no longer exists? I know that's hard to imagine in the short to medium term, but in the very long term, I don't know what might happen. Or if I have to do that, I have to keep exporting as a backup from the existing apps. Obsidian is future-proof because all the data is stored locally in wherever you decide. Again, more on this in future videos and how you can store in a synchronized fashion if we're going to use it with multiple devices. Fourth, it is highly personalized. And what I mean by this is not only the themes, not only the look, but also the extended plugins that you can add on, different tools that you can use. Moreover, Obsidian's got a really engaging community. I've asked many questions within the Obsidian forum. They're really super friendly. They've been really helpful to suggest things, and people are creating plugins as they go to solve issues. You feel in some ways part of something important, again, at no monetary cost in that sense. The final reason for why I'm using Obsidian, and I find this really rare in softwares, is that I really enjoy using it. I've been taking notes for over 10 plus years, formally that is, and I've been using Simple Note, again, another free software from the people who created WordPress. But again, I've talked about this in the previous video of the hidden discipline, and why I'm shifting is mainly because of one thing that happened. So I've been playing around with both for a long time before I made the formal shift to Obsidian between the periods of May and August 2020 last year. And the reason is, as I've mentioned, about bi-directional linking. That was clearly lacking for me in Obsidian. Plus, another kind of tip of the iceberg was that Obsidian finally came out with a mobile friendly mobile device version that I could use, in this case with iOS. And that changed everything for me. So I could take my notes on the go on either my iPad or my iPhone. So that's really important. And then why also I moved from Simple Note to Obsidian is that as much as I'm taking digital notes, a lot of my first level thinking, or when I'm starting to brainstorm on ideas, if I need to slow my process down, I usually still like to do it on an analog notebook. So when I do that and I scan it, I can now have it exist in my vault. And we're going to talk about a vault, a storage space for my Obsidian. So it's all in one centralized place. All of this links to the creation of what I call a personalized learning system, or PLS. Often this is referred to as a personalized knowledge management. Whatever terminologies you prefer, that's fine. I don't see this as just a knowledge bank. I see this more as a growing, dynamic learning garden that I would cultivate. Things that may start with just seeds of ideas, and things might start to branch off and connect with other prior ideas that I might have forgotten in my working memory. And that's really important, because that's where unique connections happen. And I don't just end up collecting dots of information. I'm now connecting the dots, synthesizing these ideas. More about this in the course that we have called the Deep Learner web-based workshop, and for more information there's the link to that below. So in today, the tips are very straightforward but really important. Go to obsidian.md to download its software onto your platform, and once you download that, it will prompt you to create a vault. Now, a vault simply means like a bank where you're going to store all these precious knowledge. And you could name them whatever you want. And once you created the vault, this is now the place that you will store all your note-taking in there. Some people would argue for creating multiple vaults for different things. I find as a rough rule of thumb, just create one and use them in a way that has served its primary function for you, be it note-taking, be it to-do list. You can even create that, or managing your projects. And we could talk about this in the future of how you could segment them by folders, and also the use of tags. We'll cover a little bit about how to create tags on that in a minute. Let's get straight into how we're gonna use Obsidian for note taking. And before we get to the first tip, as you have already downloaded that and created the vault, all you have to do is to go to this space that says create new notes. Now we will navigate through the rest of it, so don't get too overwhelmed by that for now. Click on a new note and you will have a new note in this space. For our example, we're going to use an existing template that I have for the 7 tips. And all you have to do in creating the first tip on headers is press the sign hash and then you type the word. This gives you header level number 1, which means it's at the top of your writing of your note. And if you want to create level 2, which is slightly smaller perhaps in terms of its subtitle, click 2 times of the hash and the word. And what do you want to do if you want to create number 3 level, the 3rd level header? Click the asterisk 3 times. Now you will notice that when I click that away, it disappears, the hash sign, and that's because I turn on live preview. You have been prompted this when you've downloaded to click live preview on or off, right? So you can leave it on if you still want to see what we call the markdown language of this. If you don't wanna, you could just click on live preview. This is a new update on Obsidian, it's pretty cool. Tip number 2, if you want to bold a word, all you have to do is press the symbol asterisk 2 times, and then again 2 times in the word, and there you have it. Your word is now bold. Tip number 3, if you want to bullet point your writing, all you have to do is press the dash, and there you go. Once you press the dash, and if you type in something, this is a bullet note, and then you click again, it will automatically convert its symbol, and this is already in bullet form. Tip number 4, how do you create a checklist? So all you have to do is hit the dash, hit a space, it will come out as a bullet, so don't worry, and then click the square bracket button. It will automatically create the close square bracket. Then you just jump that, hit the space again, and then you type, right? Get things done. And you realize that, hey, nothing's really happening to this one. So all you have to do is go into the square brackets and click a space, and then you move away from there. It will automatically give you the live preview. Now remember, because that's because we're on a live preview mode. You can click that as done or not. When you click spacebar, it will automatically appear. So once again, the right way to do it: square bracket, hit the space, which I didn't do earlier. Then you move out of that, click the space bar again, and then you type. That's how you get a checklist. Tip number 5. This is where Obsidian really shines, for me at least, because I take lots of analog notes in my notebooks as well, and I scan them, and I will want them to reside in a centralized place so that when I'm trying to work through my notes and learn and create links, they're all centralized in this space. So way to do this is simply create a folder, whatever you want to call it. In this example, it's called images and PDFs. And then from wherever you're gonna have your source files, all I have to do is go into my folder in this case. So let's just say I have some examples here. I'm gonna drag this into the folder and it would appear in here, right? Now, though it appears into our Obsidian layout and in our vault, it's not showing up here, of course. So all you have to do is click and hold on this note and drag it into the space that you want to, and then let go of your click. Voila, it is there right now. I couldn't do this with my previous notes. Now I know, of course, there are many other note-taking apps that does this, but again, this is open source and this has got many ways of expanding. So we're going to talk about plugins in future videos. This to me is a game changer in terms of its functionality when there are diagrams, images, PDFs that you want to put. Plus, there are also plugins. If you're reading lots of articles on PDFs, you can import them into Obsidian, and the cool part is you can extract your highlights on the PDFs. More on this in future videos. If you want to do this manually, you could see that all you have to do is to type a exclamation mark, and then let's say we delete this one. All you have to do is type an exclamation mark, 2 close brackets, and then select the particular PDF or image, and then it would appear here. Tip number 6 is adding bi-directional links. Now, bi-directional links are basically linking one note to another, not just in one direction, but in 2 directions that both gets linked that way. To me, this is really important, not so much in the short term, because as you can see in our demo vault, we've only got a few notes there. But once you start to take several notes, as we've talked about in one of my blog posts on parameters of capturing weekly learnings, in this case for therapists, therapy weekly learnings, you could start to see how one note links to another. So how do we create bi-directional links? So all you have to do is click on the square bracket twice, right? And then it would automatically fill for you the 2 other close square brackets. Then you select the note you want to link. So let's say I want to link to note number 2. There you go. And then, or if I want to create another one, create note to number 3. There you have it. And then if you hover, if you go into what we call the preview mode, if you click on the top button to read them, it will be formatted in a more prettified way. If you click on this note, it will bring you to the other note. So in this note is note number 2. Now that's blank, but that's how it links. And you can also see on the right side panel that it tells you where is this linked with, and it is now linked between note number 1, which is the Obsidian Markdown examples that we are using, with note number 2. Finally, tip number 7 is adding tags. We will go more in depth into the use of tags and folders, but in brief, it's pretty simple on how you're going to add tags. Now, you might be wondering what happened that I can't click here now. That's because we are in the preview mode. To get our preview mode, you got to click on the top button there, or just click on the shortcut key. In my case, it's a Command E, and you come back to this. So adding tags is simply hitting the hashtag key, and then typing the word that you want. So let's just say if this was a demo, and because I already had that below, it would appear, and click enter, and it will be there. If it's a new one, it will not be there. It will create as a new tag. Now, this again is really critical on creating links, a sort of cousin links, not an immediate family kind of link, where you will be able to start to see how notes are related in a second order way rather than a direct immediate way. This is different from folders, because folders are more fixed and you can't have notes existing in different folders unless you duplicate them, whereas tags allow that kind of relationship to exist. So in our examples that we talked about before on capturing therapy, weekly therapy learnings, so let me show you my particular vault that I use. Let's just say if I want to search for all my tags relating to therapy weekly learnings, I call them therapy learnings, and once I hit them, all these things will populate for me. And the thing is, each note can have multiple tags. That's where the constraint of folders aren't able to do, and that helps to kind of link them up in that way. And 2 tips I would say that I've mentioned in my previous blog posts, that you really want to have numbers to serialize your notes for particular things like capturing weekly learnings, and also dating them so that you can see the context of when these notes were taken. More on this on using other formats in Obsidian to improve you and organize your work. So there you have it. These are the 7 tips for how to get started with using Obsidian. I love to hear your experience of using it. Now, there are other really productive and wicked ways that other people have talked about Obsidian. So I recommend Nick Milo's channel on linking your thinking. Do check that out. There's lots of resources there. And I really like Felipe Donaldio's channel as well, that gives you lots of tips about using Obsidian. But if you're interested in staying tuned on going to the weeds of how to employ the use of Obsidian to not only capture notes, but to grow your learnings over time, do subscribe to this channel and make sure to tell me what you think about this video, whether you like it or you dislike it. That's also fine. I'm not trying to game any of the algorithm. I'm more interested in people, not the algorithms. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back with more videos.